If you're a residential real estate agent earning $200,000 a year and you want to grow your passive income, this show's for you. Learn the secrets other agents use and hear from experts in our field in order to guide you along your journey to investing in assets like apartment communities so that you can turn your commissions into cash flow. I'm Randall McLeod. Let's go, baby. All right. Welcome back to the show. We are airing our 100th episode. Yes, it's awesome. I'm excited that we have made it this far. I appreciate your continued support, and I guarantee the show wouldn't be anything without you. So thank you. For our 100th episode, I wanted to bring on somebody special and somebody who exemplifies, so many of the things that we are trying to accomplish and strive for. And that's a broker who has built a phenomenal business and an investor who is building their own investment and wealth creation, and someone who gives back to the community. So AJ Klenk, he's the co-founder of what is now the largest privately held multifamily investment sales brokerage in the nation. That's Capstone. He's also started another company, and we discussed that and what that looks like. And they do development deals, and they're building in the Southeast and the Sun Belt, large Class A multifamily developments and other things. So due to his reach and insight into a variety of businesses that he's successfully grown, he has a really unique perspective on investing. So I really dive in. I ask him specifically, as investors, what should we put our money into right now that is going to yield us some passive income? And so he shares his thoughts on that. He also shares his secret sauce on what operators should be doing to win more deals. And so selfishly, that's what we do. We're acquiring more deals from brokers. And so he talks about how we could win more deals. So it's a little secret tip. And building one of the largest privately held brokerage for multifamily. He knows what he's talking about. So it's a great piece of advice. And then he also discusses some tips and some ideas and things around passively investing as a limited partner. So those are the main topics. At the end, we touch briefly on something that he is very passionate about, and it's building schools in Central and South America. And he discusses some things on why he's doing that and what he's getting out of it and how you can get involved as well. So definitely listen through to the end and check out that link. It's an awesome conversation. I really appreciate him jumping on, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. If you're getting something out of the show, please go on, give us a rating and review. Helps us out a ton. Helps us bring on great guests like AJ, helps us a ton. So let's jump into the episode, talk to AJ. You're going to get a ton from it. Here we go. I was excited to have this conversation, just chat with you, obviously, because I know Capstone. I've seen that business around. I get your reports, and I'm investing in multifamily. So I was like, all right, this is going to be good for me, if nothing else, right? So I know you're running multiple businesses. You're co-founder of one of the largest multifamily commercial real estate brokerages in the country. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Got a hospitality business. I know you have a development company now, right? And you are big into philanthropy. So to me, going through and doing some research and just looking into your history, it seems like entrepreneurship is just like encoded in your DNA. So like curious for my own benefit, like what do you think going back was like a spark or something that early days, maybe, I don't know, when you're a kid or something that really gave you that drive or that spark to be building businesses?
Sure. So I thought about this a lot. I grew up in southern Michigan in the middle of probably about 500 acres. We lived on 20 acres, but had a lot of sort of uninhabited forests around us. And I found myself just constantly working with my hands outside, building trails, blazing trails, and just taking on small projects. And I think learned a lot of ingenuity from that, and just the ability to kind of blaze your own trail, if you will. My father had a small manufacturing operation where he traveled around and serviced a variety of manufacturing companies with his service. And his goal in life was to move out of the rat race outside of from Detroit to this smaller town where I grew up, in Jackson, just west of Ann Arbor. But work half the days of the year and make good money, so he could focus on his family. And so I was constantly finding myself wondering why he didn't grow his business more than he did. I saw so many opportunities for him to expand his business. He had one person working for him in Canada, but it was never a focus of his. And so I think that's part of how this sort of got ingrained in my DNA, is seeing him, waking up early in the morning to go on trips, just getting after it. But also there be an opportunity to grow that. And he wasn't interested in that, but that's obviously something that I've been interested in. And my direction has been driven by my passion for giving back and philanthropy and international nonprofit work. So I built some schools in third world countries with a group called Build On, who I'm on the global board of, and continue to do that today. So real estate for me was just a path to get to where I could focus on that full time.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, when you say it, and this is something I haven't even thought about asking you were talking about, but since you brought it up, do you think that your dad was more he worked half-time essentially, so he wanted to spend more time with the family? And so, I mean, do you have to deal with some trade-offs with the amount of activity that you do through your companies with your family life? And if so, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I'm 39, and I'd say when I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, I wasn't really ever handed anything and built everything from scratch. And so early on, it was just grinding and hustling, staying up late, not going out to the bar with buddies. Even though it sounded like fun, I had a very, focused mindset. And so I worked really hard early on. Now I have two boys that are 7 and 4. And honestly, I feel like I'm a master of my own schedule now, and I've just got terrific teams around me. So I work a lot less now, but it's on my own terms. So it doesn't, really feel like work. But we do a lot of traveling. I probably travel at least, 2 to 3 months out of the year. And so as you know, with your own entrepreneurial business, you're never turning it off entirely. And so you just kind of keep the balls in the air while you're out of town. But no, I love my mix right now.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, prosperity has allowed you the opportunity to spend time with your family. With the teams you've set up. So let's talk about that then. Because seeing and going back and seeing how you grew that company, I'm just curious, how did Capstone come about? Like, how did that initially happen? Was it you and one other co-founder, or did you guys, who was involved, and how did you guys get that kicked off?
So the recession was pretty real when I got into real estate in 2008, and started by growing a rent-to-own online-based company, a little niche just to try to get into the business. Realized that I could leverage that for other opportunities. So then I started a general brokerage doing commercial and residential and management, which was great. Grew it to 20 agents and 100 some properties in the first year, but then realized just wasn't sophisticated enough for what I was looking for. I wanted to be doing something more driven by numbers and not emotions as much. And the same thing with management. You drive yourself crazy managing properties and the things you have to deal with there. And so we wanted to get in commercial, and I thought that was a more sophisticated approach to real estate, and had an opportunity to do retail with C.B. Richard Ellis, or start an apartment brokerage company from scratch. So I ventured to do that with a couple buddies at similar mindsets, hustlers, high integrity, had a good vision, good team builders and leaders, and just really started Capstone from scratch here in Charlotte, and grown it to be the largest privately owned apartment brokerage in the country now. I think we were number 10 in multifamily sales nationwide last quarter, and just regularly competing with the big five and all the publicly traded competitors that we have. So it's been a journey, and it's just kind of happened naturally over time as we look to continue to grow our brand.
Yeah. So with that, in the structure and the setup that you have now, how much time do you spend on Capstone compared to Catalyst Capital Partners?
It's intentionally established an executive team at Catalyst or at Capstone, and inserted that team at the beginning of 2022. Had started the development company Catalyst at the beginning of 2019. So it was already sort of stepping to the side, and had stopped being a broker at least. And so my breakdown now is probably 10-15% Capstone, and the rest Catalyst and mostly Catalyst and other ventures. So it's we've got a great executive team running now and growing the business, which has allowed me to step back a little bit more.
Yeah, I want to, because there are other brokers and agents that listen to the show, so I kind of want to take it back even in with how quickly you guys grew Capstone. Looking through your history background, I know you got a degree in like biopsychology, right? And yeah. So without having a formal business education, I mean, how did you navigate the challenges of scaling so quickly? Like, what was the business model and how did you guys execute on that?
Obviously, reading a lot of books, doing a ton of networking, all the stuff that you learn in real estate when you're trying to get started, which is just network like crazy and try to learn as much as you can. And it's probably not too dissimilar from what you did, but I think sales is an integral part of growing a business. And so learning how to be good at sales, learning what's of interest to other brokers who might want to join your team, kind of learning what's valuable, and then just going out and doing things the right way over and over and sharing that message. And it, again, networking, right? So we never thought we'd end up in some of the markets that we're in at Capstone, but when you find good people and you find good synergies and you want to grow and grow the brand, it just kind of falls into place, or it has for us. So I don't think there's any super secret sauce other than not burning any bridges, working your ass off, networking, and trying to find a niche. And the tough part too is we were trying to be in a business where the majority of the market was dominated by publicly traded companies. And so one of the things that was important was ensuring that we could maintain the same level of quality from our materials to our language and our reporting to our clients, and not allowing our competitors to use that as a knock on us. We had great looking marketing materials, so we put those up against anybody, for example. And I think that was also something to keep in mind, to kind of focus on a couple things that your competitors that are larger could use against you, and sort of take those off the table. And then it just becomes who's going to work harder, who's got the bigger reach, and how you sell against those objections.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice with the marketing and the branding. So yeah, I know a couple of buddies that when they were first getting started, they took down a pretty large deal, and it was just like, how did you guys even accomplish that with no track record? And then I looked at all of their materials, and it was on point. It was crisp and clean. So yeah, that's certainly something that anyone listening can take advantage of. And I know that you just again reading through, how does your mentality of like being humble and servant leadership, how does that play a role in how you think about your companies and how you run them?
So I'm a big University of Michigan fan. That's school I went to and how I grew up. And the big mantra of Michigan is the team, something that came from famous coach Bo Schembechler back in the day, and nobody's bigger than the team. It's carried forward into my businesses, where one of our core values is team before self. Also check your ego at the door. So I feel like if you can kind of hold those high and true to how you act and to how your business acts, that it naturally attracts others who have a similar mindset. And it's really helped us with our retention. So we have by far industry leading retention of brokers. And I think once you find your squad, thinking back to high school, we had a high school sports team that you were super tight with and bonded around. We really try to create the same sort of camaraderie, and everybody's pitching in sort of an attitude here. So I think it's critical, and you can't have an ego and expect people to listen to you and follow you and want to be your teammate. So I'm sure a lot of folks have achieved it that way, but it's definitely a lot easier to do it, I think, the more they had a humble approach.
Yeah. So you guys Capstone, and then you launched your Catalyst Capital in 19. That's what you said. And so you guys are doing ground up development, multifamily. Like what I'm assuming Class A obviously is what you're building. And then what markets are you guys really focused on?
Southeastern markets for sure. Okay. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee.
Yep. So when you guys started that, are you seeing any change, I guess, now with the interest rates and just the way the market is right now? Have you guys changed any of your strategies right now?
We've had to, for sure. I got started in development really by way of doing a lot of land sales and learn the business, learn the developers, learn how they underwrote. Did some deals sort of quietly as a broker, where I was more of a co-GP and found a great opportunity, put it under contract, did the rezoning and pulled in a partner to help execute it. I had really been invested in real estate ever since I made my first commission. I poured every dollar I made back into single family homes and small commercial, and kind of got the itch that way. I would say that in the last year, because of inflation, because of interest rates, just like a high level statement, if you needed $1.65, $1.70 rents a year ago to allow a development deal to pencil, that you need $2 a square foot now. So it's just it's forced us to become much more specific as far as where we're looking and submarkets that we're looking to build in. We leverage our relationships in a big way. So we've just built some great relationships with home builders, with sellers, with brokers throughout our region, and really been leveraging those as of late. So doing a lot of build to rent deals, working with a lot of builders where they're looking to offload some of their inventory to more of a build to rent group buyer as opposed to the home buyers. And we also got into active adult. So we're capitalizing our first active adult project in Asheville, North Carolina right now. Just again, trying to find niches that are adjacent to traditional, conventional multifamily, and allows us to really look at land in a few different ways. So we can look at it for a conventional deal, build to rent, and active adult. We're also studying self-storage really, really hard as just, not recreating the wheel, but just something, gives us another way to look at a piece of land, and hopefully it can fit into one of those buckets.
Yeah. So is Capstone feeding a lot of your deal flow? I mean, it's.
I wish it was. Yeah, I wish it was. We honestly, we've got, I think, 20 projects in various stages at Catalyst, and we don't have one of those from Capstone. They're, great guys to, stay close with and for industry knowledge in that. But just the way that the cookies crumbled, we've really found most of our opportunities ourselves through other relationships.
Yeah, direct. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that really feeds into the crux of the show. Like, obviously, how to build cash flow in this environment, and through development deals. It's typically, as an LP, you're not getting into a development deal because you're looking for cash flow, mostly, right? You're looking for a pop, right? So with your experience as investor, broker, entrepreneur, if I'm a broker, agent, and I'm a credit investor, what is the best place that you see, because you have such a line of sight across various, I guess, industries, what would your advice be to place some capital for some passive income in this environment? Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be real estate. I mean, I don't, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think I do have a perspective that's pretty wide in real estate. And I always tell folks that the best investment I've ever made was buying single family homes. There's just so many benefits. It's obviously a much lower barrier to entry. And I obviously thought at one point that I could achieve a great cash flow and then I could sail around the world or whatever and live off the cash flow. I got up to 50 single family homes at one point. Yeah. And it's just very simple. You buy one, you fix it up, you refinance, you go buy some more, and you keep doing that over and over. But it's crazy. The cash flow disappears. You'd think that you'd have more cash flow than you do when you have a lot of single family homes, for example. But the real focus is net worth growth and the equity that you're building in the properties and all the tax benefits that come from it. So I've never really relied on the cash flow. I think I've seen the benefit in other ways. And I think trying to be a long-term owner is also something that I would always highly recommend. I don't see the value of real estate going down measurably in the medium term. I think looking back now, knowing what I know about development and LP investing, our LP investors are typically achieving around a 20% IRR on a 3-year period if they're investing in one of our development deals. I'd say that if you're buying into an existing apartment asset as an LP, your returns are probably in the mid-teens, if not lower, on an annual basis. And I would expect to have annual returns that are greater than 20% if you're just out there buying single family on your own and hiring a property manager to manage it for you. So again, with all those comparisons, I still go back to single family as being a great place to start. I think if you can wedge yourself into a development deal by finding a great piece of land and putting it under contract and then going and finding a partner to help execute it with you, that's a great strategy. The rezoning process is a great value builder. So if you can find something that's obviously underutilized where you can upzone it and achieve some value there. I got into the restaurant business, and I only really got into it because I owned some real estate that would make a great restaurant, and I didn't want to put all the TI into building it out just to let somebody else enjoy the cash flow. And that's been a phenomenal investment, honestly. And I think that probably surpasses all the ones that I mentioned, but it's all totally reliant on having the right operational partners. And so that was critical for that business, which I'm scaling now, is just having somebody who really knows the day-to-day, front of house, back of house, to where you don't have to be involved whatsoever. So I think there's some more of those like higher risk opportunities, depending on what you're interested in. But again, they all come with caveats, right? You got to find the right team.
Yeah. So is that the Good House? Is that the restaurant?
Good. Yeah. Good. Built on Hospitality is the name of the hospitality company. We've got Goodyear House, Old Town, Kitchen Cocktails in Rock Hill. We just acquired a business called Haymaker. We've just signed a couple more leases that haven't been announced. So it's building, but it's again totally relying on a few partners that I've attracted there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cause I looked at, it was a Goodyear House. I looked at that site and I was like, oh man, this looks like a swanky, nice, cool little place to go to. Had a wedding venue and all that stuff. So yeah, that's a good spot. I was in North Carolina for the Multifamily Investor Nation conference deal a couple years ago. And I was looking at some of the restaurants downtown. Really, yeah, it's a cool place. I don't know. I may have been in one of yours. I have no idea now. No, I didn't know you multiple.
That particular restaurant was really born out of what's been achieved in Austin, Texas on Rainey Street. And that just really awesome urban mill house, backyard bar sort of a feel. So we have an arts district in Charlotte called Noda that's just north of Uptown, where you start to see that develop similar to Rainey Street. Yeah,
it's a good spot there. The buddy that I was talking about, that's one of their first deals they did. It was right off of Rainey Street that they developed something up there.
Oh, nice.
And to be in that area, that again, that's a guy that had the marketing materials that were like on point, and so that's how he got that deal.
We're proud to be sponsored by Ridgeline Investment Group. Ridgeline has a track record of transacting more than $53 million in assets throughout Texas. Ridgeline's currently looking to acquire 100 to 200 unit Class B multifamily communities between 5 and 20 million in San Antonio, Temple, Waco, Tyler, and other Texas secondary markets. To learn more about Ridgeline Investment Group, visit www.ridgelineig.com.
So yeah, I mean, the restaurant business, explain that. I mean, in general, so you own the real estate, you had that property, and then you just partnered with a chef, or you partnered with what did that even look like? And I guess even before that, I was going through, it looked like you had something way back when you were in college. Were you serving food? Like, did you always have a kick for a restaurant? Or was that just something that happened?
To me, it's all diversification of my income and cash flow. I never had a passion to be in that business. I did work as a server at the University of Michigan's 5-star restaurant. So I was wearing a tuxedo to work, on Saturday and Sunday mornings, which, you know how you're feeling on Saturday and Sunday mornings as a senior in college, but that's the only job I could get. So I'm driving hazy-eyed and throwing my bow tie on. And that was just a good lesson in hard work. I'm doing shit that you don't want to do. Yeah. But no, it was, my vision really was build out the design, build out the brands, come up with a concept, and then attract a really well-known chef, which I have. He's Chef Chris Coleman's. He's beat Bobby Flay. He's been a chop champion multiple times, but it was really just having a good, clear vision and then finding people who aligned with that and bringing him in. And my other partner, Sean, who has opened 15 SDKs, similar age to me, similar kind of mindset. Just hadn't really been given the chance to have something of their own. They'd always worked for more corporate entities. And so, eventually built a business around it. And it's been rewarding. Yeah, it's been rewarding when you got great people leading your business. People want to work for you and you don't have staffing issues, and it becomes someplace that you can really be proud of. So yeah, it's more of a diversified income stream for me more than anything, and something I take pride in building teams and helping others that I want to help. So it's been a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, so a buddy of ours, the Daties, I don't know if you know Jason Dady, Jake Dady, those guys, but they're on some shows and they're in San Antonio. They have a number of restaurants here, and just seeing how hard they have to work, they work their asses off, and it's just like a tough industry. And so that's why I'm like, you got to have a passion for it in some form or fashion. So it sounds like, you got the guys that have that.
Well, they all need real estate too. That's that's one of the big needle movers in the hospitality business, is finding good real estate. So I think any of your listeners, they're real estate. This is a real estate centric show, right? So if you can find a way to add value to that sort of a situation, that's a massive value add for the Daties. I'm sure you're out there looking at opportunities, and once in a while you find one that could be a good fit for them. And if you have an inside track, whether it's your property or just something you're studying, that's always the toughest thing to solve for, is finding a good lease deal or a purchase deal. So again, just kind of leverage what you're good at and the networks that you're in.
Yeah. Great advice. So again, I kind of want to get to the advice that you might have, again, with your unique insights that you have. So 2019, a lot of, I guess, tailwinds, even back when you started 2008, 2009, a lot of tailwinds in the multifamily space, headwinds currently. So, what's your advice for operators, syndicators, guys who are looking to go acquire multifamily assets? What advice would you have to them and any of their limited partners?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll give you my secret sauce, which is, if you're buying deals from broker, first off, brokers are the lifeblood of transactions, whether you like it or not. It's easy to go direct to sellers, but they're not going to give you the time of day, I don't feel, or making a good use of your time, because they know that brokers can maximize their value in a sale, and they're getting hit up by buyers constantly off market. So make friends with brokers. And how do you set yourself apart as a buyer or a friend of brokers? It's usually by paying them more. And so out of the billions of dollars of transactions that we did at Capstone, I was amazed by how few buyers, every buyer would call and they said they want the same thing. They want a value add deal, off market, under market rents, mismanaged, mom and pop management. They can come in and they can buy it and add value quickly. But nobody would offer to pay the brokers a little bit extra, or an opportunity to invest in their deal, or to give them a small piece of the GP, until I had one that did that. And it just really stuck out. And that particular group just got more deal flow than they could imagine, because brokers are really driven by that. And I think it's just also like, you can make friends and take folks out to dinner and that, but you tell somebody you're going to pay them an extra 50 grand or a little bonus, like you'd be shocked by how far that goes, because it's just such an uncommon thing to hear. So again, put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're really trying to, whose favor you're trying to win, and think about what speaks to them. That's the serious piece of advice that I think anybody on the show can leverage for their advantage. Even if you're not buying a house, how do you find a way to differentiate yourself in the eyes of the listing agent? If you're buying a house, well, you can give them part of your commission. You can give them a vacation. I mean, it's really small in the grand scheme of things, most likely, when you think about how much money you could make from some of these investments and just not having to compete as much.
Yeah. Yeah, if I had to go back, I mean, we built out like a full blown wholesale, full marketing engine, similar to what you were doing, the rent to own stuff, early days. Where we're flipping a bunch of houses, 50, 60 transactions a year, that sort of thing.
Wow.
And it was just like so much effort to go and deal direct with seller. I mean, we got some great deals, but in hindsight, I could have saved a ton of marketing money, worked with wholesalers, and just gotten deal flow from them constantly, just cherry pick things, and it would have made my life easier. So yeah, it's good advice, especially in the commercial space. Deal with the broker, deal with the broker, deal with the broker. What about LPs, limited partners right now? We touched on this a little bit, but like on multifamily, class B value add, give me the deal, the exact thing you just described, what everybody wants, right? The Goldilocks deal. Any advice to limited partners right now?
Well, word on the street is there's more capital than there are deals. I think that's pretty true. So if you're an LP, you're looking to invest, you're going to see a lot less deal flow. And I would just go out and try to investigate and find some new GPs that you can get to know in this time when things are a little bit slower. Sure, you have opportunities. I have opportunities, but there's a lot of very savvy and successful real estate investors and developers. So you're just going to have to see more deal flow. If you're trying to really invest as an LP, the opportunities are going to be a lot fewer. There's a little bit more perceived risk, but yeah, I just got to find a principle that you feel convicted about. I think their integrity and check their references. I encourage anybody that invests with us to ask about their experiences with us. And so you want to find a partner or a GP you're investing with that has that same approach. You don't want them to be cagey at all about who they've worked with or other investors. They should have no issues with sharing those references and those experiences. And so there's a lot of shysters out there. There's a lot of folks who talk a big game, and there's a lot of egos in this business. And if that's your thing, then invest with the guys with egos. But that's not necessarily who we attract or who we want to work with. And so just kind of get in where you fit in a way. I think there's so many different groups you can invest with. You just got to find one that's proven that you get along with.
Yep. Solid advice. All right. I want to ask you something else because I just saw it on your profile. And when I was first started looking at multifamily and investing and looking at, small units, big unit, like big properties, that sort of thing. One of the things that stuck out is how difficult it is to manage, sub 100 unit properties. And so I started thinking about, proptech and that sort of thing. And I see that you have invested, or you have, I don't know if you've started something. I don't know. I'm just kind of curious where you are, like with proptech and with fintech. Have you invested in those things? Do you operate any of those?
Yeah, so commercial real estate in particular is very antiquated when it comes to adoption of new technologies, efficiency driving technologies. I've been looking really hard at proptech solutions and fintech solutions all around real estate, especially as a means to helping Capstone take advantage of their position at the point of sale. We're at a place where we're dictating who's getting deals, where we can sell them other services and other technologies that help them improve their property's value. And so it really started with that in mind, and also the idea of making Capstone a more tech-enabled brokerage to stand out from the competition. So I went out and researched why there isn't a tech-enabled commercial real estate brokerage, why there isn't the same on the mortgage side. And on the mortgage side, went out and really interviewed all the tech-enabled commercial mortgage brokerages in the country. Found one called StackSource that I really came to respect. I thought their tech was more advanced than anyone else, and their ability to spit out term sheets in real time versus having to wait a couple weeks to get it back from a broker. And yeah, I'm on the board of StackSource and have made an investment and been able to kind of learn from their growth, and just have inserted myself in the ecosystem a little bit more. So just networked like crazy, got to know founders of some very large real estate tech companies, and got to know some consultants in the space. And I just think about how do I leverage my contacts and the friends that I've made, both just to help them and for my own benefit. So yeah, on the Catalyst side, we're very much so focused on technologies that we can use to make our lives easier and to make us and our properties more money. Just a quick one that I'll mention. There's a property management company called Mind, MYND, that is new to the scene, and we've been investigating them, especially on our build to rent stuff. You know, if you've got Greystar, who's going to charge you $6,500 a unit a year in expenses, you know, Mind will be more like $5,500 a unit a year in expenses. And they do that through technology. They do that through, lowering the payroll, lowering the marketing expenses. And some of the more traditional management companies, for example, are just less, incentivized or motivated to adopt some of those technologies. But I think it's the wave of the future, man. I couldn't imagine being in multifamily in 10 years and seeing as many people on payroll as you have right now. It just, you don't need it. And as a tenant, you can let yourself into a unit on your own. You could sign a lease without talking to somebody. And it's just the way of the future. And as motivated as GPs are and LPs are to make a higher return, that's battling, the cost of expenses and inflation. So I think there's a ton out there, and there'll be a ton more. And I think it just will continue to be something talked about in the real estate industry for sure, is technology.
Yeah. All right. Well, I like that in mind, because that was definitely something that I was looking at. My brother's been buying storage facilities and that sort of thing. And I started doing some research on those as well, and seeing how you can go in and check in. There's no one on site. I mean, you get your key, you get everything, you're set, you're ready to go. You're boop, pushing in on an iPad or something to check in.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't this exist? Why the hell doesn't this happen at some of these properties?
Yep.
And
yeah.
The consensus that I got, or like the feedback I got from PMs, is like, well, they like to see our face and like to say hi, and I'm like, okay, that's good, but what if? So
I think I've started to go to some real estate tech conferences. I encourage anybody who's interested to try to do the same. There's one called RetCon that I've been going to, and I think what you'll find is the statistics show that tenants for multifamily don't really want to talk to somebody anymore, or at least there's a large enough percentage that don't want to talk to somebody when they're leasing a unit, to make that business case make a lot of sense.
Yeah. What was it called? RetCon? RECCON?
RETCON.
All right, RetCon. All right, perfect. All right, yeah, I'll look that up. All right, AJ, man, I appreciate you jumping on, sharing your information, your knowledge, your experience. It's great to chat with you and hear kind of your whole story and what you're working on right now. I do know I kind of want to wrap this up with just a quick question about you building schools. I think it would be, I know you touched on it at the very beginning, but without really talking about that in depth, I just want to ask you, like, how did you do that? And like, is there some plug we can give to that organization where people can donate or do something like that? Because I think we should absolutely have that in here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I've always been driven. I'm a firm believer that you need to have a purpose and a cause that's much larger than money. And that could be giving your family and your kids a path that's easier than yours. For me, it's the impact that I can have on the world. And so I built a school in Bolivia in high school in a village where a school didn't exist. And think about the impact that has. So you've got, now you've got a community where they can actually educate their kids before they send them to the big city to make money to bring it back to the village. But when you go to the big city without an education, you can't get a job and you end up homeless in a shanty town. Much to the surprise of a lot of those folks who just think they can send a kid from a village to La Paz. But with an education, you're armed with something that others aren't. And so I saw it as just a totally transformational thing. There's a group called buildon.org. They built more schools in developing countries than any NGO in the world. They make that kind of an impact on a regular basis. I have nonprofits for all my businesses. I built a couple schools last year. We're going to build 3 this year, and I'll continue to ramp that up. So with every apartment development that we develop, we dedicate or donate part of our development fee to build a school. You could build a school that houses 75 kids in Nicaragua or other countries for $35,000 a year, or $35,000. So just think about that, right? Investing $35,000, and now you've got 75 kids who are going to be going to school each year and matriculating out through that. So I've yet to find a return on my donation that comes anywhere close to that in the States. And I think there's a lot of folks that like to help in the States too, but we become so jaded in this country and ungrateful for what we have that it's great to see the smiles on the faces of some of the poorest in the world.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I will definitely look that up, man. I advise everyone else to do the same and donate to get some money. So awesome. AJ, again, thanks for jumping on. If you want to reach out to AJ, if you have your contact info, they can put it in the show notes. You can also check out Catalyst Capital Partners and their deals and offerings that they have there. So AJ, good chat. Catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Randall. Appreciate it. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one. Bye.
Did you know that 80% of the agents we speak with got into real estate in order to gain passive income so they could obtain financial freedom and become work optional? If you want to stay up to date, the best way is to make sure you're subscribed. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do it now. We'll catch you on the next episode.